guys, how's it going? Ivano here with some news from the PTS. After my last video about the news on the dev stream for patch 7.7, where the gold augments were confirmed, the developers were not quite clear on the stream whether you can also, as was the case with any augment previously, get the schematic by deconstructing one lower tier augment. And now they have in fact confirmed that you can also get the schematics for the superior augment 86, so the new best in slot gold augments that will be dropping from the master mode of the new lair boss, can be obtained by deconstructing an advanced augment 86, so there will be the purple item rating 310 augments. And they also confirmed the research chance, which will be 20%, so it will basically be the same as going from a blue augment 86 to the purple augment 86. Now that is good news for, let's say, crafters who maybe have a lot of tech fragments, but don't necessarily want to join a raid team for the master mode boss. Nevertheless, deconstructing one of those augments means that you need to craft it first, and of course, even the purple augments cost 2 CM1337 components, and on average you would need to craft 5 of these to get a chance at the schematic. So we need to see how high the drop chances really are for the schematic from the boss, and how the prices will be on the GTN. There's also one related point here, which is that the new item deconstruction rules make it so you will only have a possibility to learn that schematic if you are the original crafter. So if you bought some augments from the GTN and you will deconstruct those, you will not have a chance to learn the schematic for the gold augments. That is only possible if you are the original crafter and you still have the required crew skill. So for example, synth weaving for the critical augments. Next, Broadsword confirmed the combat changes, and they were, to say the least, a little bit underwhelming. On the stream it wasn't quite clear, but from looking at these changes it looks like 99% of those really only affect the default talent choices, so which of these talents will be selected automatically for you as you level up. I guess that's because Broadsword thinks that some of the new players don't even know how to change these talents, but yeah. If you're an endgame player, this will not affect you at all. There are only 2 notable changes. The first one is of course here in the list. Sweeping slash is made baseline. This was of course already announced on the developer livestream. And since this was on the combat style tree, it means that Juggernauts and Guardians are now getting a new utility on level 27, which competes with the root on Ravage or the slow on Force Scream. And this one will be called Path Carver and just buff your sweeping slash damage by 15%. So a small buff if you're playing Juggernaut tank, for example, and just want to AoE max instead of going for more CC. The second change then here is that they changed basically how the AoE of Force Scream works when you choose the projected Scream talent. So that's the other level 27 talent I was talking about. And previously that used to be a cone, which made it kind of hard to aim sometimes and get the slow reliably on multiple targets. Now it will be a sphere around the target. So more of a circular shape, I guess. Many other AoEs in the game already use that. So I would say that it's like a quality of life change for Juggernauts and Guardians. And then the rest here is really all just default choice changes. Don't get confused by this one. This is just a leveling change because Force Scream gets replaced by Devastating Blast as you level up, which I think also already benefits from Ferocity. So this is just a leveling change. And there's nothing really else here, but then they actually snuck in one change to Marksmanship into this other thread over here. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you will see that Penetrating Blasts for Marksmanship Sniper now has 6 damage ticks instead of 5. So this is a small buff, because if you are running Agitating Energies as your tactical, which you will, especially in PvE, means you get 1 more tick of your Corrosive Dart out of it, which will be a very minor damage buff for Marksmanship. The other thing I forgot to mention, but they talked about on the stream, is the movement speed changes. If you missed that on the live stream, basically they will make it so that Sprint, which is your out of combat movement speed buff that you get as you level up, will now stack additively with other movement speed buffs. So previously, when you would pop Hydraulics on a Merc, for example, that would give you a 35% speed. And Sprint, especially if you have the guild perks, can actually give you more than 35%, which means that your Hydraulics wouldn't do anything in the past, because the game would only recognize the highest movement speed buff that you have active. But now they will stack, and of course this will affect PvP, because when you're out of combat and you're moving between nodes, for example, those buffs will now stack. Thanks to one of my subscribers, Brandon Starr, who tested this on the PTS. It looks like both force speed and movement speed passives that you can skill, such as the one on an Assassin, for example, will stack with Sprint. And this, of course, is kind of a buff to stealthers, will make it easier for them to get to the nodes and cap them. And it's also a buff that will make defending a little bit easier. Let's say if you have to move between south and west on Novara Coast. Also, there might be some interesting interactions with Combat Sentinels and Carnage Marauders that we will need to look out for. So maybe the next patch could actually be more exciting than we thought initially. And finally, going back to the PTS changes, there were some modifications made to the new boss Nightmare Mode difficulty. They increased the cooldown of Prey Seeker. So if I remember correctly, that is the stun droid. Now it can only be cast every 45 seconds. So making the fight a little bit easier there. There's a bunch of changes here. Most of them, from what I can see, are supposed to make the boss hit harder. So Hungering Bite damage increased, Prepare for Harvest. Some bug fixed, damage increased by 66%. And then the Prey Seekers or the stun droids were nerfed. But from what I've seen so far on the few guilds that have tried it on the PTS, the new boss on Master Mode will be quite challenging to say the least. So not sure if this will be the last round of balance changes. If they leave it like this, I think when the boss comes out, it will be quite challenging to kill for most groups. Of course, as always, if there are any updates, I will keep you guys posted. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.